Unanswered questions about Jason Voorhees. Did they really just copy Halloween 1's ending?
It was Josh.
Easy.
Number 1
And
number 2. Two-part question to start this one off. Who were the unnamed victims that Jason killed in the beginning of the movie? And did Jason's body disappear? At the very beginning of the cinematic toilet paper, I caught something mighty interesting in Robert's news report. A week after Jason gets blown to hell, literally, there's a segment featuring Creighton Duke. But here's when it gets weird. The report says a week after Duke's review, so it's 2 weeks now, a string of Jason-style murders occurs. 5 victims, forming a direct trail from the Ohio Federal Morgue, where Jason's remains were flown, all the way back to Camp Crystal Lake.
In the week following our interview with Creighton Duke, there have been 5 more Jason-style murders on a direct path from the Federal Morgue in Youngstown, Ohio to Crystal Lake.
So let's pause. Let's pause the program here. If this is national news, which it is, considering Diana, Jason's sister, is literally watching this broadcast in the diner, where everyone's throwing a Jason's dead party with burgers and shit.
This makes a whole new patty.
I'll take a Voorhees burger and a side of Jason fingers.
Did Diana think it wasn't important to mention this? Does this sheriff not know about the brand new string of murders leading directly to Camp Crystal Lake? Diana knew. Diana just found out. Creighton Duke knew. He's there at the diner. These people have the IQ of a goddamn goldfish. I can't explain their stupidity, but I think I can explain Jason's body going missing. Hear me out. Now let's go back to Duke's interview.
What you think of as Jason is not Jason's body he's wearing. That's just me. He wears other people's bodies like folks wear a suit.
One thing we do later learn in this film is that after he sucks face with people, disgusting, and body hops, the previous body melts away, much like Josh in the Voorhees house. Which could explain why Jason's disappearance is once again a mystery. Perhaps Jason's body is just now liquid until he is reborn.
The ones he's jumping in and out of, they can't last. Jason needs to be reborn again, and he needs Jessica to do it.
And this being the FBI, maybe the general public doesn't know that he was blown to pieces, maybe that he was just killed. Now throughout the film, Jason's picking bodies at random. We know the body that he wants because it has to be a Voorhees. Diana, Jessica, the baby. But for the most part, it's just random. Sometimes the body he's wearing wears out and he needs a new one. Much like he does right after the diner scene when the body of Robert is just completely dismantled and he takes over the cop. Other time, he picks maliciously and even shaves them beforehand. I guess Jason doesn't like to fill in the facial hair when he's sticking his tongue everywhere. But we know after Jason possesses the coroner, kills the assistant, and the 2 security guards, that's Kane Hodder, by the way, who plays Jason in this film. He makes his way from Ohio back to Camp Crystal Lake, all still in the coroner's body, never switching, leaving a bloodbath in his way. At this point, the real question isn't how Jason came back. It's how no one saw it coming, and is blatantly ignoring the warning signs. As always, we've got melting bodies, a trail of corpses, national coverage, and somehow this town is throwing a cookout at Joey B's diner like it's freaking Labor Day. Jason didn't need to commit this massacre. You can hand these people a life vest in a parking lot full of rain, and they'd still f***ing drown. Number 3! Did Creighton Duke lead the FBI to Jason? Now, originally my idea was, along with many people in the comments, is that Wayne's tapes in Jason Takes Manhattan is actually what led the FBI to finally killing Jason. Quit leaking my questions! I'm just kidding. Love you guys. But I actually have a different opinion on this now after rewatching this movie for the first time in many, many years. While there may be some truth to that whole tape theory, I have a different theory, but that could work into this one as well. There is no point in trying to debate continuity and trying to establish a timeline this far in the franchise. Jason Takes Manhattan ruined that. But I do strongly believe that parts 8, 9, 10, and Freddy vs. Jason aren't canon to the original timeline. This is the new timeline. So Jason gets his ass handed to him by toxic waste in New York and finds his way back to Camp Crystal Lake. I mean, is that such a stretch to say? In this movie, he just walked from Ohio back to the shoreline side of New Jersey, in someone else's body after they ate his fucking heart. Even if you throw up the argument this isn't the same mask, the same outfit, the same look. Well, at the end of this movie, Jason turns into this little ugly-ass demonic creature, crawls up his dead sister's cooch, completely regenerates his body, and a new hockey mask. So what the fuck is logic at this point? So back to Creighton Duke. I stated in my previous video about Jason Takes Manhattan that I do believe an unseen massacre occurred after Jim and Susie resurrected Jason. I mean, there was legit right there in front of Camp Crystal Lake. Remember, Camp Crystal Lake was up and running. There was people there inside those cabins. What if this was the origin of Duke and Jason's past encounter?
Son of a bitch, you remember me?
Duke and perhaps his girlfriend at the time was at Camp Crystal Lake. Jim and Susie resurrects them. Jason once again attacks Camp Crystal Lake before going on the cruise ship later that morning. Duke's girlfriend gets killed, Duke survives, and Duke spends the rest of his life dedicated to hunting down serial killers.
You'll remember Mr. Duke as the bounty hunter responsible for the capture of 6 of this country's most reviled serial killers.
Until the time has come to finally lead the FBI to Jason, which would explain why he was at the sting operation in the beginning of the movie. But he knew better. We then get the new lore of Jason possessing people and body hopping and all that bullshit. Because it's often wondered how the FBI got the drop on Jason. Was it Wayne's tapes? Was it Creighton Duke? Was it a mixture of both? If you break all of it down, it's kinda easy to connect the dots. Number 4. When did they tear down the cabins at Camp Crystal Lake? This is a small piece of dialogue from Steven that can easily be missed, but packs a big question.
Well, here's where the camp was. They tore the cabins down a few years ago, but this is the place.
This kind of backs my theory about the massacre we never saw at Camp Crystal Lake in Part 8. You can even work that into the Creighton Duke and FBI angle as well, like we just did previously. So if you believe this theory, which I truly do, they finally had the common sense to tear down this camp and leave it vacant. Smart. What took you so long? Dumb bitch. But this also creates another question. Where is this cabin that Agent Marcus used for this sting operation? Is this a cabin she rented? I thought the cabins were torn down. It really piques my curiosity about where exactly this is located. Because she's driving to Camp Crystal Lake. Remember midway through the film, the hitchhikers at Camp Crystal Lake? The ones that Steven picks up and they want to go there because Jason is gone now?
Where are we headed?
We're going to Camp Crystal Lake.
Planning on smoking a little dope, having a little premarital sex, getting slaughtered?
We're thinking about smoking some dope, having a little premarital sex, and not worry about getting slaughtered.
And this one chick in the passenger seat just wants to get some from Steven. Wants to get pile drived. But he's like, nah, man, I'm good. When they go camping, there is no cabin. Granted, we don't see the whole vicinity. So is this cabin on the outskirts? Is this at Packanack, the neighboring area, right beside Camp Crystal Lake? In addition to that, we also get our first glimpse ever of the Voorhees house. That's a whole nother question in itself. So Jason grew up here? His own house was on Camp Crystal Lake the whole time? Why didn't Jason just come back here to live? Why find a shitty rundown shack in the woods? This place is decked out, man. It's practically a mansion. What was Pamela doing for money? Probably hoeing out. I mean, watching this movie, forget trying to explain this dumb voodoo, black magic, possession bull. Explain this cabin Agent Marcus is at. Because this can map out at Camp Crystal Lake. Think about it. Wherever the main camp was, you now have this other cabin Agent Marcus is in. And somewhere around this lake, for the first time ever, at Camp Crystal Lake, we have the Voorhees house somewhere. So explain the Voorhees house, film. Does this have any ties to Jason's sister, Diana? What about Jason's father, Elias, mentioned in the news reports?
Jason Voorhees, born in 1946 to Elias and Pamela Vorhees.
This house is part of Jason's origin, the Voorhees family origin, the family tree. And only decades later are we first hearing about this. And it's never fully explored. This is huge. Think about it. The Voorhees family house. We're 9 films in. And now you want to bring it up? There's so many places you can go with this. But it's never fully explored. But this mystery all starts from Steven's comments. When did they tear down these cabins? Rapid fire round. Is this supposed to be the same baby? And this scene the night before, the baby's bald. The next day, it's got a head full of hair. What? Where's my Rogaine people? Speaking of the baby, are you really just gonna leave it in the damn food box? On a counter that small? Unsupervised? I can tell you've never had kids. Why would Creighton Duke break Steven's fingers if he wants him to go help Jessica fight Jason Voorhees? What the fuck is going on? Am I in the Twilight Zone? Why is the fish in this scene blurred out? Did you think no one would notice? Why would you do this? What did the fish do? Duke talked all that shit and found out. Duke says you have to destroy the heart to kill Jason Voorhees. Is this motherfucker not destroying the heart? He's a raging bull. This is me after my hangover's gone. Number 6. And
today, Junior!
where is Elias Vorhees? And what's with the new family tree? So for the first time ever, we actually get a mention of Jason's father.
Jason Voorhees, born in 1946 to Elias and Pamela Voorhees. Jason was believed to have drowned in Camp Crystal Lake. Sadly, he did not.
And no, I don't want to hear about the scrapped concept ending of Jason Lives. It never happened. That's breaking the fourth wall. It's interesting to dissect what makes Jason tick in this film. The news reports also say that Jason never drowned. So where does the supernatural aspect come into play? With the introduction of Diana, Jason's half-sister, it makes you wonder why only Jason became supernatural. Because now we're dealing with the whole Voorhees family tree. We got Jason himself, Diana, the sister, Jessica, the niece, Pamela, the mother, Jessica's baby, and now Elias, the absent father figure lurking in the shadows of the lore. So what's the deal? Where has he been? Where is he at now? Besides slinging sausage to Diana's mom. It makes more sense to me for Elias to be the shared blood, not Pamela. Talking about the half-sister, if it was Pamela's side, it completely goes against Pamela's MO. It goes against her motive, her obsession, her love for her children. She wouldn't just throw a child away. As you can tell, she really cares about her children. Just watch Friday the 13th Part 1. Pamela doesn't half-ass her family. She goes cuckoo for it. Why is only Jason supernatural? Diana's normal. Jessica's normal. The baby's normal. Was it the near drowning or drowning in 57 that kind of cracked the door open? Did facing death allow something else to slip in? Something evil that latched onto Jason and never left? Did Jason actually die and come back as that twisted little freak creature that we see crawling around in this movie? Because whatever that thing is, we're not dealing with just a deformed kid who was bullied, who accidentally may or may not drown back in 57. Jason is nothing but a vessel for something darker now. The Voorhees bloodline is very mysterious and convoluted. But it all goes back to my first question. Where is Elias Vorhees? And what role does he play? Number 8. Is Jason a soul collector? I want to make a very important note that this works heavily into my number 10. But I don't want to jump too far ahead yet. As bland and convoluted as this movie may be, these few scenes interest me. I'll show them right here.
Oh, Jesus.
We all know Jason Goes to Hell has some corny ass voodoo action going on. Demon baby slug creatures, some magic dagger that turns into a damn Final Fantasy boss weapon. Yeah, it's stupid. But buried in all this sludge are a few moments that actually feel important. These reflection scenes are one of them, and here's why. If it was only Jason seeing his reflection, I would understand. But Diana sees it as well. We even see it in the morgue. So this means that it's not just a hallucination, but rather than a manifestation, an imprint of Jason's soul. And that's what we're talking about here, are souls. And speaking of souls, remember the first time Jason body hops? We actually get to see the souls suck back into Jason, like they're transferring into that new body with him. Now this soul angle is something I never see anybody ever talk about. But why? Of course somebody probably fucking cares. Are these demonic souls? Are these the souls of his victims? I'm leaning more towards this. So we know in this film that Jason is a vessel for this demonic creature, not even remotely human. As a matter of fact, Jason's heart doesn't even have blood in it. It has black goo.
The heart appears to be filled with a black, viscous fluid, not blood.
So who's to say that this vessel isn't harvesting souls as well? Maybe even Jason's. Maybe this is what fuels Jason's supernatural power. Now this isn't the only time you see these souls. You see them in the climax of the movie, when Jason gets shanked in the heart with the magic dagger, and Steven beats the soul, beats the hell out of him. I mean, he's beating the hell out of him like he's a final boss in a PlayStation 1 game. And he's just spamming square for that same punch over and over. Hard punch, hard punch, hard punch. Toasty! You then see these souls again when they jump out of Jason and beam into the sky to where I assume is the better half of the afterlife, while the portal to hell opens up and Jason gets dragged down. If you look closely at this scene, these souls actually change colors and come back down. Me personally, I think these souls belong to the victims this whole time, and they changed pigment after I guess being cleansed while up there, and come back down, and is helping pull Jason down to the depths of hell. So all of this bizarre voodoo, all the strange things going on in this film, Can part of it be explained by Jason being a soul collector? This is number 9 and 10. Is this the birth of the slasher and monsterverse? It's time to bust this fuckery wide open. This is a long one, so buckle up, son. I'm about to educate you. This film is a medium to a bunch of shared horror movie universes. And as dumb or cool as you may think that is, it's not that far of a reach. Matter of fact, I can guarantee you there are connections that you never thought of. Let's break all this down. This film is infamous just for its ending. That grand finale of Freddy pulling Jason's mask down to hell. Like this film or not, this film confirms that Jason Voorhees and Freddy Krueger share a universe. Of course, this is eventually what led to Freddy vs. Jason. But what if I told you it goes even deeper than that? Again, I personally don't feel like this film is canon to the original Friday timeline, and that this is a different universe rather than the earlier Jasons we got. It's also a well-known fact that the Necronomicon makes an appearance in the Voorhees house. To top this off, the Kandarian dagger also makes an appearance, also from Evil Dead. This is also confirmation that, as dumb or cool or bizarre as it may seem, also confirms the shared universe of Friday the 13th, Nightmare on Elm Street, and now Evil Dead. Now, the Evil Dead franchise and the Nightmare franchise has been hiding in the shadows of one another for years, such as this scene in Evil Dead 2 and even Ash vs. the Evil Dead. See what I'm talking about? And no, this is not breaking the fourth wall, because this film makes these franchises canon. There's also a common theory that Jason is a Deadite and that Pamela used the Necronomicon to resurrect Jason from the dead, and that explains his powers. But I disagree. While I do think the Necronomicon can be used to explain a lot of stuff in this film, I don't think Jason is a Deadite. The Deadite isn't fitting for Jason's MO, even in this film. The characteristics doesn't fit. While possession fits the criteria, Jason isn't flying around, levitating, shape-shifting, cracking one-liners. I don't consider body hopping shape-shifting. I find Jason as a more supernatural version of a revenant that hasn't been explored yet, and has yet to be fully explored. Now, to expand this universe even more, we can also see the crate from Creepshow down in the basement next to Diana's dead body, in the basement of the Voorhees house. So Creepshow's universe is also shared here? Far-fetched? No. Here's why. Creepshow already shares the same universe as Evil Dead. Season 2, Episode 1, Public Television for the Dead, is an episode dedicated to the Evil Dead franchise. In that episode, they're on a TV broadcast, and they read one of the many Necronomicon books that we have in these universes, and shit hits the fan. Another thing that caught my eye about that crate is Horlick's University. This, of course, may just be a reference to the crate episode in Creepshow, but Horlick's University actually goes way beyond that. Another small connection is the black goo. In Creepshow 2, there's an episode called The Raft, which is an episode about this mysterious black goo substance in this lake that kills people, and the teenagers are trapped. And what is this character wearing in this episode? A Horlick's University shirt. And what does black goo have to do with Jason? Well, remember what the coroner said about Jason's heart? There wasn't blood in it, there was what?
The heart appears to be filled with a black, viscous fluid. Black, viscous fluid. Black, viscous fluid. Black, viscous fluid.
This university is also referenced in Christine. My list could go on and on and on, especially if you incorporate this in Stephen King's universe. But I won't dive into that. I'll stick to what we have on screen. But my biggest question yet, what is this hell? Now that we have established that Friday the 13th, A Nightmare on Elm Street, Evil Dead, and the Creepshow all share the same universe, do they share the same hell? I imagine this hell is represented in a different sense than the Christian version of hell. We're not going to get religious here. It also makes me wonder if Hellraiser is in the mix. Now, this has absolutely no weight to it on screen, but it is very fitting for the answer. Isn't it very odd that in this shared universe of all these franchises, forbidden artifacts come into play? The Necronomicon, the Kandarian dagger, is kind of parallel to the puzzle box. Entities using vessels, possession, like Jason does multiple times in this film. That's parallel to what Frank does in Hellraiser 1. He does the same thing when he takes over his brother. Bodies melting in this film, like Josh the cop when he's melting in the Voorhees house. You can directly parallel that to the body melting in Hellraiser 1. It melts the exact same way. The opening of hell with Jason, the portal, or some sort of realm to it. You know exactly what that sounds like? Hellraiser. I don't think it's coincidence that the base elements of this film is nearly a carbon copy of Hellraiser's same characteristics. It's as easy as painting by numbers at this point to connect the two. You throw in even more supernatural aspects to that, like the Necronomicon, Creepshow's hidden lore, Freddy's infamous cameo at the very end of this movie. They very well could share this same hell. So that begs my original question. Was this the hidden birth of the slasher universe? Bonus question! Who is this? Watch this clip in slow motion. As Jason's coming out, there's somebody in the window. Who could that be? Is somebody working with Jason? Is this another evil entity following him? Please comment down below. Thank you guys so much for taking part of your day to kicking with me. You know I appreciate it. I love you all. Until next time when I see you in Jason X, 400 fucking years into the future. I appreciate you. Till next time. Adios.